Hey guys and gals, Bored now back with you. On this video I'm going to be talking about Yellowjackets Season 3 Episodes 1 and 2. So episode 1 is called It Gal and episode 2 is called Dislocation. So just a warning, full spoilers from the start of this review. And as always with Yellowjackets, a fair bit to talk about with it being a double premiere as well. A lot of different things to keep up with, and I would say a very solid start to the season, especially in episode 2. Episode 1 I think was a little bit more of a slog. Slog may be a bit harsh, but I did feel the length of episode 1 a bit more. It felt like things were dragging a little bit, but it is setting up some stuff for episode 2, so I can forgive it. And it was still a decent enough episode. It just didn't really grab me as much as episode 2. But this, I know the Guardian review today was positive on the season so far. They've seen 4 of the episodes and said it really got back to some of the darker humour of like the first season, and that the moving forward into spring was like a more positive type move. And because season 2 was very divisive, it definitely had its faults, but I am a bit of a defender of it, and I rewatched it recently and I thought it held up really well. But I can also see the complaints with season 2, so a lot of people weren't as keen on season 2 as they were season 3, so they're hoping, I think, for a little bit more direction in this season, a few more answers. Out of the teen timeline in the wilderness, because that makes sense, because we've finally got through winter, they're now in spring. And the opening of the episode, I think, is strong because it sets up this rivalry between Shauna and Mari. They're having this, what seems like an innocent game of tag, which turns nasty because Shauna basically tackles Marnie. They do this split scream thing, and it's funny, they start showing the divisions in the camp, how Shauna is very much still in a bad place and still mourning the untimely death of her child who was never really born, and she's starting to feel isolated from the group. And what's funny is Mari, who's consistently been an unpopular character amongst the group because of the way she is often named Karen, she is starting to make friends, it seems, or she's starting to fit in a bit more with the group. There's a bit more of a sense of banter, and this is something which gets Shauna's back up even more. So post-credits we get a beautiful use of, I think it's a Cat Stevens song, that's what my mum seemed to think it was. It's a familiar song and it definitely fits the mood of that opening scene. Once again, the musical choices are really well done. That is one of the strong suits of Yellowjackets. So it really does capture how spring blossoms and the mood and this sort of freshness of like a new season for these characters, especially when they've been out in the wilderness during winter. And that's one thing I think it might be a safe bet to assume that because there's a 5-season plan with the show, then possibly they're going to take in at least one more like season in the wilderness, possibly season 4, and then maybe they'll just have like, when the survivors get home, maybe have a season with them back at home, build into the present. And that's probably a decent bet for the way they're pacing this show. It might not work like that, but this is a good sort of strong opening. Shauna's diary entry cutting into Van's playful recap of the Yellowjackets story, which is both in and out of universe. So that's a bit of a meta moment. There's a few meta moments and playful touches to this episode that I did appreciate. So Shauna's angst and mood powerfully contrast the more positive vibes of the camp and Shauna's darker world view at this point, and that's one of the big surprise of this show, but really explains a lot in the present. So I really enjoy that stuff with Van doing the recap, as I said, of the story so far. But the plan for the summer solstice is like a ceremony which will put Shauna's baby to rest and sort of mark the passing of, they're saying, the other three souls. Melissa takes a shining to Shauna, and Melissa's a character who we haven't seen much up to this point. She's the only other one who's rebelling against the ceremony. And Shauna's line, "Do you actually have a personality?" is fantastic, because I think, again, that's speaking to the audience. It's this idea of winking and nudging. This is a character we haven't really heard much from, and this is her first big scene in a way. So I do like that. I think the setup to the episode is very strong. So we have a camp meeting. Nat, of course, has been assigned the leader, and she is putting out this narrative that Coach Ben is definitely dead. She has her motives, of course, keeping the hideout to herself, which we're pretty sure she knows the location. This smartly then cuts to Coach Ben staggering through the woods, so confirming he is still alive. Finally, he struggles down into the bunker. Coach Ben, this is an obscure English or British music reference, but Coach Ben looks a lot like Griff Rhys, the lead singer from the Super Furry Animals. Lottie's influence over Travis goes on. This is an interesting pairing. I still find Travis one of the more boring characters, building on some of the stuff we've seen in the future and what we saw in season 1. Lottie is offering him an alternative therapy to medical therapy, saying medical therapy let her down pre-Wilderness, saying it failed to get rid of the voices in her head. Travis starts hearing trees screaming. Lottie doesn't hear it, but he says you soon will. Murray and Shauna fight as over the meal as Shauna spits in her soup. Or appears to anyway. I wasn't sure if that was meant to be Marnie hallucinating, but the tensions are such, and I think it was real. Natalie, taking charge, says they are both relegated to huts for a week. I do quite like Nat as the leader. I don't know if Sophie Thatcher is given that much to do in these 2 episodes, but it's a different side of Nat, her having to be this more disciplined leader, so I do like that stuff. And how there's a bit of a hierarchy, because I noticed earlier in the hut scene then Ty was sort of almost like second in command and was like a bit of a sounding board. But Mari runs away, and later when we have the ceremony, we hear the screaming again. So the same screaming that Travis heard, it would seem. But the twist is that Mari has run away, and she has been captured by Coach Ben. So she's down in the bunker in the ditch, and it's the traps which he set for animals, and he's got Mari, and that is a nice hook to go into the next episode. Mari, I think, maybe getting closer to Pit Girl territory. She is the one who a lot of people have speculated, so I don't know if this is going to be how she ends up there, if she is Pit Girl, but could still turn out a number of different ways. Also thinking we could get a Mari dedicated episode this season, like we might get a flashback to her, because we haven't had one of her previously, and if she is going to take on a bigger role this season, then that might make sense. Switching over to the adult side of things, which isn't as compelling this episode, I don't think. A bit of a slower start for them. But we've got Nat's funeral, which I thought was underwhelming. I thought they might make a bigger deal of that. There's just a very awkward like eulogy from her mother, who doesn't really say a lot, and there's hardly any people there outside of the Yellowjackets. But I just thought maybe they would have made a bigger deal of that. I guess it's more about the fallout and how the various characters, especially Misty, who can't be there, is selling it. And later on, the group are in a pub and they're sort of talking about their own funerals and legacies. Shauna particularly feeling that and speculating about what her funeral would be like. So it has this very morbid world through, and I think she's partly thinking of because of Callie and what went down and some of the stuff she's put Callie through. So I guess that's why her mind turns to that. So there's some fun humour in that scene. They joke about the idea that Misty could be bugging them, and yeah, they do mock Misty, which I think is setting up a bit. Then once again, Misty is going to be a bit of a figure of fun in the episode. Callie reacts to bullies at school by throwing guts at them. Yes, guts. Callie's twisted way to sort of throw that in her face. And they definitely do get some of the dark humour, but like the stuff where Shauna reacts to it with Jeff, she makes that joke about, well, were they human? Like the girls, no, the guts, were they human guts? And it's a whole thing. And once again, Shauna acting very inappropriately, and it's almost as a version, Jeff being the more concerned, like straight-laced parents. I've got to say, sometimes it's a little bit one note, and it's what he was doing last season, although I did enjoy it last season. Ellie shows her mum the video of her throwing the guts at these other girls, and Shauna is almost embarrassed, but she asks Callie to play it again. Seems to get off on it, so it's one of those like surreal type scenes where it's almost like a comment on social media and things being reproduced, and these just bizarre type videos that take on a life of their own. But it's got this double layer because it's Callie's mother, and it's almost like, well, yes, like mother like daughter, almost like Shauna is proud of her, I think partly for defending herself. Callie also gets a package which is left for Shauna. We don't get much more of that, but based on episode 2, this does appear to be a cassette, because Callie seems to have a cassette on her at one point. A cassette in 2021, wow. But if I had to guess, it might have something to do with Shauna and the whole blackmailing stuff, and maybe the stuff with her and Adam, like maybe there's someone's got some evidence on her. Speculation over, just because Jeff was the one blackmailing them for the money, he might not be the one who sent the postcard, so it's possible that this might have something to do with that. Ty and Van are living together, but they're not sleeping together. Ty's trying to look after her with the whole cancer thing, and this is one of the upsides about this season, that we're probably going to get a whole season of these two. And that's great news, because they are a great couple. It's great to have Lauren Ambrose extend her stay on the show, and I think they've got a really good chemistry and really like interesting and intense dynamic. So Ty offers her a romantic date at a restaurant to get her out. So there's your Valentine's link, if you like. They later mock a snooty upmarket restaurant. Ty embraces her bad girl side and the darkness. They sneak out without paying. You get this scene which at first is very comedic, but then it does turn darker because one of the waiters chases after them and is nearly run over. This guy saves him at the last minute, but then the waiter collapses with a heart attack. So it seems to be another Ty casualty, like someone who got in Ty's path. Ty later sees a shadowy figure, the one she saw back in the wilderness, which she has taken with her back to the present day. But she doesn't tell Van, instead they just make out in the alley. Walter tells Misty that Natalie had a storage space and that it might be worth making sure there was nothing incriminating in it. He offers to check it out, but she snaps back, then she will do it. Maybe she still doesn't trust Walter, I couldn't blame her. And one of my big questions for this season is, what is this guy's game? Because it does seem like he's got a little bit too much of an interest and that he's manipulating things, and some of his actions, especially in the finale last season, was a bit excessive, a bit extreme, because he actually poisoned and killed poor Kevin, who didn't deserve that, and it just felt like there was another way to do it. He could have just knocked Kevin out. So I am starting to wonder if Walter could secretly be a bit of a villain. He could have some link to the postcards, such of Misty going out on a bender and T Nat appears in her head and tells her not to let the guys at the bar disrespect her, so she does stand up to the bar guys. Nat could be Misty's dark side or inner voice. It seems like the other adults from the wilderness maybe have like a darker side in them. So maybe the team version of Nat is meant to be Misty's. I quite like that idea. I think it's quite a good way for this theme to continue, and Nat still being with Misty makes a lot of sense. And Misty doing the Nat impression was priceless. I think that was one of the highlights of the episode. Walter shows up to comfort her when she breaks down. He criticises Yellowjackets for not showing up. Is this his place? He may well have a point, but is this really his place? Is he trying to manipulate things? As I said, great acting from Christina Ricci. On to episode 2, Dislocation. Definitely the better of the two episodes, in my opinion. This time I will start with the adult stuff. Walter again knocks Misty's friend. Shut the fuck up, Walter. It's starting to grate now. He says he doesn't understand their friendship runs deeper. She gets a call from Shauna. Walter says she's just using her. That's probably true, but in a way not the point. Walter just wants to clean Caligula's cage with Misty and spend time with her, so he is being a bit selfish. The reason Shauna calls is because Lottie shows up at her house out of the blue, claiming what happened at the resort wasn't her fault. Shauna disagrees. Jeff and Shauna both want her to leave, but Callie is drawn to Lottie, something which I could see them playing with this season. She says she feels sorry for her because she's unwell. It's possible she just wants her around to bug her mother. Callie talks them into putting her up for one night and they'll figure out what to do tomorrow. So Shauna wants Misty to babysit the two of them, essentially, as Shauna and Jeff has a business meeting, entertaining sleepover / truth or dare style game. The fun twist being that Misty is actually the one trying to be the most responsible. Who would have thought that? Callie is the master manipulator in this, twisting the truth in the game. She wants to find out what happened at the resort. What is it that Lottie keeps talking about? Spikes Misty's drink. So again, Callie in danger of going down a very dark path this season, even though this is a very comedic scene at times. You do feel once again bad for Misty because it's bringing up a lot of trauma for her. Misty collapsing is fantastic though. She finally blows up at Walter later on and kicks him out. Thank God for that. Shauna is bored at Jeff's business meeting. She goes to the bathroom and tries to get hold of Misty. Senses someone in the store, as in the bathroom store, and we see a familiar looking shadow. The lights go out. A strange phone shows up in the store and it starts ringing. And this bit is absolutely genius. This is a great Easter egg. The ringtone is Queen of Hearts. That is genius. It's a mystery caller. Is this related to the package Kelly picked up? Shauna hands the phone back in at the bar. She then lets rip at the yuppie Joel, who's one of the people Jeff's trying to do business with. Once again, we see a different, more sinister side coming out of Shauna, maybe because of what happened to her in the bathroom. Was that shadow like the darker side of Shauna? We cut between teen and adult Shauna, because Shauna later rings the number and wants to know more about the person who the phone belongs to. She gets more and more unhinged. In the teen timeline, which I'll cover properly soon, she threatens Melissa, who says everyone else is afraid of her, but not her. Shauna puts a knife to her throat, but then she kisses her. Again, there was this implied attraction between Shauna and Jackie in season 1, which is possibly why there was this tension. And it would just be another secret which Shauna has been carrying all these years. I think this cutting between the two is meant to make you believe that maybe Melissa is the identity of this mystery caller in the present, or could it just be a misdirect? One thing that crossed my mind is that if they're going to go a bit surreal and play with the dual thing, like, does the other person look exactly like Shauna? Is this in Shauna's head? Ty and Van's relationship heats up once again. Van injures her foot on some glass when they're making out passionately. Ty tells her to go and check it out at the hospital because you don't want to risk infection in your condition. Van says she did later on, but she appears to be lying. Ty goes to the restaurant to square things up. While she's there, the employee appears to tell her about the waiter who had a heart attack, and this sets off a reaction in Tyresha. Now, again, that was quite a trippy exchange, so I didn't know if that was in Tyresha's head, but in any case, it does set off a reaction. This scares her, but she doesn't tell Van, so it seems like they now both have a secret. And we move over to the teen timeline. We pick up with Mari and Coach Ben. Dislocates her knee. Coach Ben has to tell her how to fix it. A very graphic scene like the show tends to do. He claims he doesn't know about the cabin fire when Mari brings that up. She tries to butter him by saying, I think you burnt it down. He says he just stayed well enough away, so had no knowledge about it. I'm not sure I really believe that, one way or the other, regardless of if he burnt it down. I believe he was hanging around, so probably did know about it. He later tricks Mari by tying her up and puts a hood over her head. Again, this might lead a bit more to her possibly being Pit Girl, and this is how she gets to being Pit Girl. But considering Ben's on the outs with the others, I don't know how that would work. He says he knows what happened to Javi and that he would be the next victim and that the others wouldn't believe him about the cabin. Thing is, because Mari has now seen him, Coach Ben feels he can't let her go. He can't take the risk. He later gives her some chocolate, which he found down in the bunker. That's as like a sort of to settle her down. We then hear Ben starting to talk to himself or to someone, says things like, I'm trying to distract her, I need to think. This gave me the idea of, could Ben be the one who Travis is talking about at one point? So Travis has a bad reaction to Lottie's therapy and attacks her. Van and Ty breaks it up. They are still divided on if the wilderness has a purpose for them and Lottie's whole spiritual thing, with Van the believer, Ty very much not. Lottie says it's alright, it's healthy. When they go on a hunt later for Mari, she insists and Travis stays behind because their work is more important. Travis tells her the wilderness has told him if it doesn't want him, it already speaks to someone else. There's a line about this person controlling the animal. Now, I thought he said she, but I didn't quite catch it. It might have just been that it's another person, so I did wonder if maybe it was going to be Coach Ben because of some of the stuff he's doing in the episode, and he also seemed to hear the voices. Also be Natalie because of this whole new role she's got as the leader, but there's other possibilities, of course. When Shauna says fuck you about Mari because Natalie wants her to come on the hunt for Mari, Misty then joins Natalie. Now this is the first real signs in the past of this long-term reluctant Misty-Nat dynamic, which was so much fun, especially in season 1. Misty defends Coach Ben. Nat is more harsh, again maybe showing Misty still has a bit of a crush on him partly, although it does show once again this blind loyalty that Misty has sometimes, which is sort of to a fault, so it is quite an endearing quality that seems to misdirect their search, sending them a different way. When they return, Misty tells Shauna she thinks Nat knows where Ben is and isn't letting on. Shauna tells Misty not to let on to the others or Nat than they know. This has promise. We do need more Shauna Misty stuff. Episode 2, I think over the 2 episodes there's a lot of fun to be had, a lot of intriguing things that are set up. It does seem to be piecing certain things together. But yeah, episode 2 was stronger, I think. Like the adult timeline stuff was definitely stronger. Solid start to the new season, I would say. So let me know your thoughts on the opening 2 episodes, what you think about some of my theories, about the way certain storylines could go. Like and subscribe as always. And share me out on social media. Support me on patreon.com/borednow, or you can be a channel member, 3 different tiers. I'll link that in the description. And I will be back next week with a review of episode 3 in season 3 of the Yellowjackets. Keep watching TV and Yellowjackets. See you soon. Bye.